Are you in the armed forces?
No.
Well, you look like you should be. You look strong enough there, yeah. I do a lot with our military. I've been to so many of their bases all over, from Guam to Ramstein to Qatar and Doha and many of those, and Stuttgart. I had all of our academies. I've been to the Air Force. This year I'll be back at the Annapolis for the third time. I've done West Point and so on. I have the highest gratitude and respect for our armed forces because I know how they sacrifice their life, sometimes in even meaningless wars that seem, so that we may have our freedom, and these values are always purchased at a great price. When I was in my 20s, I was halfway through my undergraduate studies in Toronto, Canada, and I was invited to go to Vietnam. I was not in the armed forces, but I covered the length of that country all the way down to the south from Vung Tau, through Saigon and Dalat and Hue and Quang Ngai, Quang Tri, all the way to the demilitarized zone in Quang Tri, watching the war going on in an amber-colored sky. I flew with the military. They would fly me in their gunships, their choppers and all of that, and because of them I got to all of the major areas. And I gained a deep appreciation for the loneliness that they go through and some of the fear. I remember one day in Saigon, there was a whole slew of airmen, and the closing hymn, they sang, the church service sang. The pastor was a man by the name of Paul Bubna, who became a personal friend of mine, and the booming voices singing "It Is Well With My Soul." And at the end of it, the pastor looked at me and said, most of these boys will not return after the next mission. That's how serious it was. So I've seen warfare close on hand. It changed me, changed my ministry. In a world that is fallen, in a world that is skewed, in a world that is gone so far away from God, our nation that needs to survive, that needs to protect its families, that needs to protect its children, needs a strong military to defend it, where there are exploiters and abusers who will seek to destroy us and take away the lives of our families and our children. And the simple principle, I believe in the just war theory. I don't have time to go into that. I am personally not a pacifist, but I do know there are many who are, and I will respect that conviction. And many of them will end up as chaplains or whatever, or working in hospitals, and I will honor that because God can put that conviction into people's heart for that reason. But I think they need to do it out of the conviction of why they are there in that situation. All I know is if all of us became pacifists, we're finished. Tomorrow, there would be no tomorrow for the country. If for somebody, I know I don't have a daunting physique. I was speaking to the Atlanta Braves once, and I walked in and said, it's terrible to walk in and be the only one who fails the physical. And I'm looking at them. I'll tell you the funny line. I gave my wife a hug once. She's from Canada. They have a very subtle sense of humor. The Canadians do, We've been married 42 years now. I gave her a big hug, and she looks at me and says, she has a nickname for me, which I won't give to you. And then she said, you have the arms of a thinking man. So after I retire, I'm going to work out and develop the arms of a non-thinking man. So what I say to you is this. If my family were attacked, I would do everything in my power to overwhelm and overcome the one who's trying to hurt them. Whether I had the strength or not would be immaterial. I would have the will to defend them. And I think we, especially in this country now, need to know there are those who are going to seek to destroy us and try to overwhelm us. We need to be strong and just and wise and know how to pick these battles. The fact of the matter is, in the Old Testament and even in the New Testament, where there were soldiers and all, often in places of defense needed, that we have to protect the integrity of a country and the safety of our children. So I believe if a person is a pacifist, I will respect his or her conviction. I am not of that stripe. I would believe firmly our country needs a strong defense, lest it be overwhelmed by those with evil intentions and a worldview that would destroy the values for which this country stands and was built.